In 2019, we were just at around 270K total annual revenue. There was 3 of us in there. We actually rented space for like $120 from a client, and it was their kitchen. We literally rented out just their kitchen. But we didn't have any sales and marketing, so we had kind of stagnant growth, just referrals, until 2022, and that's when we signed up for Technology Marketing Toolkit. Since 2022, we've grown by 735%. It's just phenomenal growth.
Tommy, welcome to My First Million podcast. Thanks for coming today.
I appreciate it, Rob. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Let's just start with, this whole point of this podcast is to talk to MSPs out there who are either on their road to their first $1 million in top line revenue or their first $1 million in net profit. So some of the context of this is thinking back to as you were getting to that first $1 million. What would you say is like some of your biggest success has been so far?
What's interesting is my first million was just a few years ago. It's not like I have to think back very far. In 2019, we were just at around 270K and total annual revenue. So, looking back at what that looked like is there was 3 of us at the time. We were all in a room in about 10 by 10. Literally, I think it was 120 square foot, so 12 by 12 room. There was 3 of us in there. We actually rented space for like $120 from a client, and it was their kitchen. We literally rented out just their kitchen. So I have one tech on the left side of the kitchen sink. I have the person doing my invoices on the right side of the sink. And then there I am on the opposite wall. And so that's looking back. And so our biggest success was just our mindset and the shift that we made to get to that first $1 million, and looking at where we came from to where we are now. It's incredible. It's what a process we've been through, what a few years it's been. And we've done this through COVID at the same time. So it's just been an incredible experience.
Can you dig in a little to some of the strategies or methodologies you've used to grow your business?
At the beginning, we didn't have any kind of sales and marketing. And I think I talked to you about this before, Rob, but we didn't have any sales and marketing. So it wasn't until 2022. So we had kind of stagnant growth, just referrals until 2022. And that's when, we signed up for Technology Marketing Toolkit. Really set in stone the Robin Robbins philosophy inside of our business. And that's where we've seen exponential growth. Since then, since 2022, we've grown by 735%. It's just phenomenal growth.
You say 735%?
Over a 3-year period, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Any particular campaigns or methods that you use that you'd like to share that you think somebody could benefit from out there listening?
I think right out the onset, what we implemented first was technology business reviews, or commonly referred to as QBRs. Mm-hmm. And for those that don't know that may be listening, that is, we put it in our agreements. We also talk to our customers about it. And what we do is we strategize, cadenced meetings with our clients to get a feel of what they need from us, and we align expectations. And then that also allows us the opportunity to maybe cross-sell some missing components in our stack to them. Could be cybersecurity risk exposure that they may have. And so it allows us the opportunity to inform the customers about these gaps and kind of fill those in. But at the same time, it also ticks up our revenue while it helps our clients. So it's a win-win situation. That's predominantly been a game changer from us out the gate. Now that we've matured a little bit, we're doing our cold calling, we're doing our sales, direct mail as well, using what's referred to as the aspirin campaign. So we're doing that as well. And then we're also joining a lot of networking groups. I know that's been a hot topic around the community for this quarter, but we are engaged in plenty of networking groups, and we look to align with JV partners.
Oh, that's excellent. I think we talked in the past. I believe you were doing some canvassing. Is that still an initiative, or can you share a little about how you go about doing that?
Yeah, we always have a canvassing plan. We started it just last year. Robin, she put out a report a couple of years ago, and canvassing was listed, I believe, on the top 10 things. Canvassing was listed as number 8. And so we didn't touch it, we didn't look at it. But then last year, Robin had put out the same form, the top 10, and canvassing had ticked up to with it being with the expectations that it could be listed as the number 3 item for 2023. So what we did, as soon as that report came out, my peer group, which I'm a part of a peer group and the Producers Club with the Technology Marketing Toolkit, is we decided, let's do canvassing. So literally the next day, I had my sales guy, internal sales guy here, go out and start canvassing some raw leads to see what happens. Within 2 days, we had leads. And so we started the process, I believe in July of 2023, we closed 14 new clients, new logos before the end of the year, just from canvassing alone. So we haven't stopped it since then. It's still predominantly one of our top things that we're doing. We've created a mini shock and awe bag, like a canvassing bag, maybe just a bag to hand to clients. Maybe has some goodies, a little brochure, maybe trust-based marketing magazine or something like that with our content, maybe a book that maybe one of my self-published books. And so it's about follow-up with the canvassing, but we've had some incredible results.
Yeah, so you go around in different regions, either around your customers, I know that's very popular, or into areas that you think have the right size target customer profile, and you're dropping off these bags, and are you just kind of walking in and talking to whoever will speak to you then, just to make an impression and then do a follow-up?
Well, here's the thing, canvassing works no matter what your demographics are, or, as far as, now we're in San Diego, it's a lot larger city, endless businesses, but it works for smaller environments as well, which we are canvassing in South Georgia as well with the same results. We basically pick out a little section. Maybe we'll use Google Maps, or if we know the area, and say, hey, this plaza, they have a lot of law firms here. They're traditionally known for a lot of law firms, and we'll send our sales guy over there and do some door knocking. Basically, simply walking in. Now, the first time we go to canvassing, Rob, this is what's kind of won us favor is we don't go with any kind of sales expectations. It's basically, hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm just wanted to drop off some content for you guys. We're, an IT firm, a cybersecurity firm, or MSP looking to do this, and this. We have our little 60-second pitch, but it's not much. We leave them the content. Now, here's the most important thing that we do. We're trying to figure out, and it's a great way to build a list. We're trying to build a list. We're trying to figure out who the decision makers are, and we're trying to scoop up some business cards. Immediately when we leave that office, or if we leave that plaza, before we pull out of the parking lot, we are already sending them an email follow-up. We're sending them an email right there from our cars and saying, hey, we were just in your office. So that person, maybe 5 minutes after talking to us, is now receiving an email from us. And then here's the most critical component of what we've realized with canvassing. You're not going to get the appointment the first time you canvass. It's after the 2 weeks follow-up. So we go back to the same plaza exactly 2 weeks later, and now we're walking in. Maybe we have another magazine, or maybe we have a couple of pens, and we just say, hey, we were here a couple of weeks ago. Now, what we found is the person at the counter will all of a sudden say, maybe it's a gatekeeper, maybe we're lucky enough to see a decision maker, to say, hey, yeah, you were just here. It's going, hey, you had some nice content, or, we did have a computer problem this past 2 weeks. That's where we've found most of the conversations have led to leads.
That's great. I mean, I think that's all really, really valuable information for our audience. I just want to circle back around to where you said you're doing QBR, TBRs. I know that there's some talk about the current economy, that it's a little harder to bring on new business right now until maybe post-election. Have you found that really doing that kind of account management piece with the quarterly business reviews is helping to create more bottom line for you? Increase your profitability?
It certainly increases profitability because it creates project work, right? And so your MRR is already established. Maybe there is an uptick there. Maybe there's a service that you can sell to fill in a gap, as I previously mentioned. Mm-hmm. But the opportunities for QBRs is what you uncover is life cycling, road mapping, technology steering, maybe some modeling. Maybe when you go in there to a QBR, what you'll find is all of a sudden the client says, oh, by the way, Tommy, we're starting up a new branch office next month. Or, hey, we're moving offices. It's amazing what is uncovered during the TBR. But predominantly, it's about project work. It's about filling in gaps. We don't lead into a sales conversation. We're always armed with a roadmap. We're always armed with proposals for things that we know that the customer needs, but we don't lead it in sales. It's about just engaging in the conversation, and more so than anything, having that C-level conversation and getting valuable feedback from your clients.
Yeah, it's great advice. Let me ask you, so we kind of got, how you've found success in different strategies. How did you start all this? I mean, what's the story about how you became an MSP or got into technology?
I was fortunate, unlike a lot of people, I was fortunate at a very early age to know that I wanted to be, at the time, a computer guy. That's all I knew. I was in South Georgia, born and raised in South Georgia, and I used the Marine Corps to kind of escape from South Georgia, get the discipline to go to college, to one day return home to start up a business. So my first business was started back in 2002, 2003 in South Georgia, and my wife later down the road, we decided to bring the business here to California to restart it as Automates here. And so, predominantly what got me into the industry was I was kind of my first experience in the IT industry was kind of a letdown. We were asked to do some kind of shady things, like for instance, change hard drives when they weren't necessarily bad, or we were asked to fluff our hours on an invoice and whatnot. And so then when I started communicating with customers, I would look at other IT companies as well as jobs, and I got the feeling that they were doing the same thing. And so, that was my real catalyst to get into the industry, was to I wanted to remove the stigma there, to remove that reputation and kind of fix what we had seen, some of the negatives. And then, as far as becoming an MSP, that's just the way the industry took it. It's a much more stable market. It's more beneficial to the customer, having your IT company be proactive and develop solutions. It's just a better way of doing business.
Did you find that experience in the Marines helped you in terms of anything in the business world? I don't know. I thank you for your service. I don't have that experience. Is there anything you crossed over or took with you?
I try to make that comparison to some of the veterans that we hire and whatnot during the interview process. And I remember the challenges coming out of the Marine Corps, which is so strict and so formal and such filled with traditions, and coming into the civilian world, the simplest things like trying to stop saying yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am constantly was a headache. And I seen that it was kind of a distraction for my supervisors at the time when I took my first job as a civilian. So one of the things we work with our veterans on is the comparisons. Number one, your CO is basically your CEO. Your XO in the military is now your general manager, or maybe the chief operation officer in the company. Your sergeants that you used to have to report to, they're pretty much your team leads, maybe your service manager and whatnot. It's all relatable experience. The most important thing is, especially in the IT industry, is in the military, you're really taught, and it's beat into you, your troubleshooting steps, being logical, trying the simplest thing first. Like if a computer doesn't come on, is it plugged in? Does it have power? The other thing is discipline to finish a task and to see it through. I think it's very relatable to the IT industry. Yes, it's helped me along in the career. I would love to say that it helped me on the business side, but I was way too young at the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, those are still great takeaways. I mean, the discipline and the follow through, for sure. Do you have a particular defining moment or turning point when you look at your company that you think was the point that really set you on the path to success?
Yeah, Ed Bogapuro, which is my general manager, he's still here with me. He was one of the 3 people in that 12 by 12 room. One day, I mean, this is during COVID, we were bumping into each other. We could literally, if I turned around, I could just tap him on the leg or something like that at the time. And one day I just looked at him, and we only had 3 employees total. Our revenue was, like I said, it was right around 300,000. And I just looked at him and I said, this is not going to work. 10 years from now, we're going to be at $700,000 a year. And we're going to look back at this and say, we shoulda, coulda, woulda done something. So it was that day. I remember that maybe it was 3 p.m. I said, let's do this thing. Are we going to do this thing? Let's do it. I said, let's just come in here tomorrow or come in here Monday and let's build a business with a completely new mindset. Literally that Monday, and that was our pivotal moment, that conversation there. That Monday completely changed everything. We immediately started looking up software. We started looking up things to do. We started looking at office, different strategies with the clients. And that set us on a course to where we then steamrolled right into technology marketing toolkit and Robin Robbins, because now we had a little bit of revenue, we had a little bit of growth, we had some great ideas, but we had zero knowledge how to do sales and marketing. And then that's what really took us the rest of the way.
Yeah, let me ask you some follow-up to this. So you have that moment where you're literally there, and when they say everything but the kitchen sink, you had everything and the kitchen sink
and the kitchen sink
in that office. But so you have that moment where you're like, okay, this growth is too slow. Like,
it's a shit or get off the pot moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit or get off the pot.
Yeah. All right, let's call it what it is, right? So when you came in that Monday, I mean, was it just like, so that created this new fire? Like, was that how you'd say it? Because I'm sure that there are plenty of people listening who are, somewhere either at that revenue amount or just prior to that, or maybe thinking, I don't know, did I just build myself a job, or like, what's going on here? Like, can you dig in a little there?
Well, that's kind of what was beating me up when I would go home at night, is going, this is never going to improve. I don't own a business, I own a job. And that was what was kind of just beating me down. But it was that pivotal moment, like you talked about, it was a complete mindset shift, literally with a snap of a finger, that I said, I have to do something because I'm not going to live forever. I have a limited amount of time. And so I need to make some movements. And it wasn't until that I just took that leap of faith. And it was also in that moment, Rob, is kind of coming to terms and saying, I don't know it all. I make mistakes. I'm failing. I don't know how to properly run a business. I don't know how to do sales and marketing. I'm not the best IT guy. It was coming to grips with ego and pride, kind of getting out of my own way, and then, seeing that I need help. And then when I started asking for help and asking the right questions, then I realized how many people were out there that are willing to help and that was willing to give advice. And so you start asking the right people the right questions, and no one's going to turn you down.
Wow. So this may tie into my next question. If you go back in time and you could talk to your younger self, maybe even prior to that, like when you were just starting out, what advice would you give that person?
Maybe join Robin Robbins on day one. So maybe join TMT on day one. I only imagine where we would be at right now. But outside of that, if I was to tell my younger self, I would just say, you don't know everything. Going back into that, you don't know anything, ask for help. I would say hire people smarter than you, those type of things that we all know, but it's very hard to do. But and then I would also say that to give myself more credit for the things that I have done as well at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's probably an important one too, right? You get down to kind of beating yourself down on what's not there. You have any particular strategy around that? How to actually give yourself some kind of affirmation for the good you're doing?
It's we can get into work-life balance, but I think it's also is having a good team around us. We have some pretty good morale around it. We have very good morale in the office. And, if I look to my left right here, my wall is kind of, it has notes and cards from my employees saying, thank you, you're a good boss, good leadership, and just little thank you things like that. It kind of keeps me up. Also, just being in a peer group and hearing from your peers that are at different levels, and many of them much higher than you, also say what good things that you're doing in the industry. That helps me out. It kind of feeds into that momentum, lets me know that I'm doing maybe some things right now. Now, Rob, we still make mistakes. We make mistakes every single day, but a maturity is now those mistakes have become lessons, whereas before they were just failures and kind of demoralizing. Now we look at them as just like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something new. And one of the other things as well is when I used to do goals, I'm a big goal-driven person. I love doing goals. But when I didn't get a goal, I would move my goal. And I used to do that, and I didn't become self-aware of that until I started getting in a peer group and hearing Robin speak about different things. It's like, don't move your goal, change your activity to hit the goal. If you haven't hit your goal, it's not the goal's not the problem, it's that your activity is the problem that is not going to get you there. And so that's when some things it may be simple for others to pick up, but that was a big one for me. It took me a little longer than most to figure that out, that I needed to change my activity.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of touched on a couple of really, really good concepts in there. But you did mention in there about your team, building a good team. I'm curious, any advice out there for how you went about, or how you'd recommend somebody goes about kind of as you start to grow and scale your business to put the right team together?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's your first person, for any of those listening, if you're a solopreneur, you're running your own IT company and you're pretty much in a break and fix, or maybe you hear about this thing about MSP and you don't know how to get there, here's the first thing. A life lesson, I'll save you some time and some hardship. Do not hire a tech as your first person. Hire admin. Hire somebody that can offload the invoicing, offload the accounts receivable from you, so you can focus on being a tech. Then your second hire, let that be a technician to split the load. But hindsight 2020, I wish I would have hired an admin first to kind of offload the invoicing component. Most IT people, including myself, we are not the best financially. And that's one of the things that I can drive a wedge against smaller IT companies, because many of the clients, they'll complain about their billing practices and whatnot. And then I'll blow them, that's a good wedge to me to come in to break out the smaller IT companies from prospects. So that's a good one. And then I would always say the second thing, Rob, there is look for people smarter than you. Get out of your own way. Drop your ego to the side a little bit. Hire people smarter than you.
Do you put any component to that to company culture, or do you do any of that in the interview? Are there certain kind of people you look for, or traits that you think have proven out to be more beneficial or successful?
We're moving into, an area like an operational maturity to where we're starting to focus on what kind of culture we're bringing in. But predominantly right now, Rob, I'm a little bit older school into the thinking that it's more of a personality that I'm after. It's definitely a personality match. When I interview people, we go through several rounds of interviews, but my favorite is when I get the chance to interview somebody and just have a walk and talk with them. No.
Yeah, so you go by some of that gut feel of what you think is going to work out.
Correct.
Well, that's totally fair. You mentioned in there really fast, I heard you say work-life balance. Can you speak to work-life balance? Because I can say I've interviewed a number of IT owner CEOs and all, and sometimes I say that and they just laugh. They're like, there's no such thing. I mean, I don't know. What's your take on this?
a couple years ago, Rob, I would have said the same scoff, if you will, if you would have said that. My first business in a break and fix model, and then when we were starting out as well, almost, admittedly, it almost killed my relationship. Been in a break and fix model. I was working 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., 365 days a year, maybe take Christmas off or something like that. But MSP model gives you an opportunity, if you run things correct, to kind of change a little bit. So the first couple years, I mean, up until this year, I had never taken a week vacation. And, since joining Technology Marketing Toolkit and learning, Sales and Marketing Toolkit and Robin Robbins stuff is a lot more than your sales and marketing. And then I hope I can get that point across. It's pretty much business consultants, sales and marketing consultants, the whole 9 yards, the whole package, if you will. And so, having been in the program for for almost 2 years now, it's taught me how to run my business better. This year, I've actually, for the first time, I've taken a 3-week vacation. My wife and I have been married for 20 years, had never been on a honeymoon before. So my wife Rose and I, we just got back about a week ago from our first ever 3-week vacation to end our honeymoon. I was completely untethered, completely unattached from the business. My team here took care of everything. And then I was expecting maybe some emergency calls. Nothing. I had a fascinating time. 3 weeks got away and came back to a thriving business. My team even closed a new deal while we were on vacation. So that was cool, coming back to a new client. So fascinating. So work-life balance is, I didn't used to have one. Now I do. So it's been fun.
Yeah, something definitely to aspire to. So what would you say now? What are your long-term goals for the company? And any thoughts about how you're going to go about achieving them?
Oh yeah. So we're laid out what we plan on doing on a 1, 3, 5, and 10, if you will. I would look at currently we're kind of we're righting the ship, if you will, is we're concentrating on our onboarding process. We're still concentrating on sales and marketing as well. I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, our trajectory is we're going to double in size, but also with, and kind of now we are ready to start incorporating our middle management team, our leadership team, and we're building up on the training there in those positions. So I can take another step back. And every level it's about replacing you as the CEO, kind of replacing me in the position that I'm in, and also replacing the other members of the team. Where our customer account manager becomes a full-time account manager, or they may eventually become a sales engineer. So it's about, just upgrading everybody's position, and not only me taking a step back, but everybody on the team taking a step back, and they're starting to delegate more and more and more and more. So that's kind of where we're at our level right now.
Yeah, I mean that sounds right. I mean, it ultimately, from what I understand from all this, if you can get that right, that's when you really can start to scale. When you get that mid-level managers and all. You have any final takeaway or something maybe I didn't cover that you'd like to tell this audience? Trying to reach that first milestone of $1 million.
I would just say, I'm a big mindset person. I'd like to be considered a motivator, if you will. I would just say, just take that leap of faith, have more faith in yourself as well. Do some research. Don't be quick to judge when you're out there. I would also say, like I would tell myself if I was younger, is to look at the Technology Marketing Toolkit on a serious level, to get into it. And then also, whether you're just getting your foot in the door, if you're a younger MSP, maybe 300, 400K in revenue, or maybe you're sitting at 900K and you don't know how to get past that $1 million mark, is take that leap of faith, try it, try a new system. By far, by far, Technology Marketing Toolkit has completely reinvented our business. We're up by almost over $2 million for where we first started since joining it. I would say that is predominantly the biggest thing, which has completely changed my life, completely changed my business, completely changed my lifestyle. It's changed my marriage. It's so much more than, just sales and marketing is what you get. And, that's it. I'd leave you with that.
That's amazing. Amazing to hear. Tom, it's always great talking with you in the hallway someplace or, on a call like this. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and, sharing your experience and your wisdom.
I love it, Rob. Thanks, man. Call me anytime.
All right. Thank you.